As I said previously, I personally consider Stonkers to be the starting point for real-time strategies, but to most of you people, the first classical real-time strategy was Dune 2, created and marketed as such by Westwood Studios. Every real-time strategy aspect, such as base building, unit recruitment, and the ability to use your mouse, albeit in the most basic form, comes from here. Then in 1994 came Warcraft Orcs and Humans, which was Dune's first imitator. The game was essentially a fantasy Dune 2, but a combination of nice graphics and some new technical features made the game popular, thus creating the genre as we know it. Like TBS, real-time strategies are strategies where everything happens in real time. However, there are some complications to that formula. See, unlike turn-based strategies, fans and developers over the years had made clear guidelines on what we can and can't find in a real-time strategy, and as a result, while TBS is more or less the same game in different subgenres, RTS have less of those and is more divided in schools of game design, which may either not differ from each other too much, or might as well be considered entirely different genres altogether. The first two basic and most common schools of RTS are the Command & Conquer and Warcraft schools. So in what way are they different? All RTS have several things in common: resources, resource gathering, base building, size and number of available units, population caps, and graphical user interface specifics. CNC-style games feature one resource that is harvested by slow and expensive harvesters. The base is built by one building that places a ready building in a small radius away from it, or by a special unit that morphs into said building. You can only build one building at a time. The unit either forever turns into the thing you order, or the building prevents you from creating more while your order is built. Units are usually small in size compared to buildings, and you can build either an unlimited amount of them or a specific amount of them hard-coded by the developers. The player can select an unlimited amount of units and usually has to order them with a specific menu built in the corner of the screen. General artistic style of such games are small units with highly detailed maps, usually in sci-fi or realistic setting. Warcraft-style games, on the other hand, feature two or more resources that are harvested by multiple cheap units that are at the same time your builders. They create buildings you order, usually anywhere you want, but it takes a certain amount of time. The amount of units you have is usually small compared to CNC, and your population cap depends on the amount of farms you build with a possible coded limit. The interface is different in that it has a limit on how much units you can select with a mouse, and health and abilities of the units are in a special window in GUI. The same goes for the list of available buildings. The general artistic style is usually bright, colorful, with big units and buildings, usually in a fantasy or semi-historical setting. These are the two standard schools of thought for RTS games that you people had probably experienced at least once. However, there are also three schools that are less famous but still important to feature. These are the Relic style, Battle Realms style, and Total Annihilation style. Relic style strategy game features at least one resource that can only be generated by capturing certain strategic points, and a mixed way of building entirely depending on the faction you chose. Your units always come in squads of several individual models that either serve as the overall unit's health or as indeed individual models that can target different things. The amount of units you have is generally pretty small, but it's amplified by the aforementioned squads, and population caps are usually hard-coded. The interface can be of any style or even vary depending on the nation you choose, and the general artistic style can be used in any setting, but the maps usually are more tactic-oriented, dotted with various covers and obstacles that the player can use to their advantage. Battle Realms style features two or more resources that are harvested by multiple cheap units that are at the same time your builders. They create the buildings you order, usually anywhere you want, but it takes a certain amount of time. The main difference from the Warcraft style game, however, is that the builder units are the only units you can train normally. The rest of the units have to be trained from builders in special buildings or be controlled by builders but created near said buildings. Since this school is in many ways derivative from the Warcraft school of game design, it features mostly the same mechanics as them and the same general art style and settings. And finally, Total Annihilation style games feature one or two unlimited resources. That is, unlike the other games, here resources will never end. The resource buildings only speed up the income. The player starts with a base and a commander unit that can build and also serve as a powerful battlefield unit. The size of the units usually depends on their tier, and the unit cap is usually non-existent. This is a style of game design known for its general level design and balance. Here the players create massive armies of thousands of units battling on enormous maps in land, air and sea with multiple ways of killing the enemy. And that's all the known and big RTS schools of design. Note that I said RTS, since the idea of an RTS is tied to numerous factors like base building and combat aspect. There was a lot of games that experimented with them, resulting in creation of independent subgenres similar to how TBS are. Tune in next time as we will discuss in detail these RTS genres and the ever-encroaching problem of hybrids.